So John Boyega's talking to Disney again, huh? A surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. And not for the reasons you think either. What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Al Schuler. Make sure to use those force powers to smash that like button. And let's get into this video, man. So in a recent interview with The Hollywood Reporter, John Boyega mentions that he had a conversation with a Disney exec following his previous interview at GQ magazine. Now, for those of you who don't remember, it was the September article in GQ in which John Boyega went scorched earth on his treatment as well as the treatment of the Finn character during the filming of the Star Wars sequel trilogy. In that article, John Boyega says, and I quote, "Like you guys knew what to do with Daisy Ridley. You knew what to do with Adam Driver. You knew what to do with all these other people, but when it came to Kelly Marie Tran, when it came to John Boyega, you knew fuck all." He also goes on in that article to say, "What I would say to Disney is do not bring out a black character, market them to be much more important in the franchise than they are, and then have them pushed to the side. It's not good. I'll say it straight up." Now, when I read these comments, I really didn't have a problem with them because I understood where John Boyega was coming from. And this is something that really behind the scenes, the black community, if you will, talks about quite a bit. Our portrayal on the silver screen is always something that's the butt end of jokes or something that we bring up as something we'd like to see done a little bit differently. Now, of course, there were some that didn't necessarily vibe with what John was saying, and he went to Twitter to kind of clarify that. There was also another interview with British GQ magazine in which he shed a little more light on his take and why it was he felt the need to present it in the way that he did. And he says, and I quote, "I'm the type of person that came into an industry in which I felt there was, not to give it the LA stab, just a lot of pretense," Boyega said. "I don't roll like that. I've been in situations in life in which I know what it feels like to have your life at risk. There are deeper things going on here. I don't care about trying to mesh in with the system in order to secretly work it. That's just not my way." So again, I really didn't have a problem with what he was saying. I actually thought it was a little bit of a breath of fresh air to hear somebody come out and say these things without a filter necessarily. Now, again, I didn't have a problem with the comments. I felt like what he was saying was valid, but I do also feel like his treatment or the treatment of Finn in the Star Wars sequel trilogy wasn't something that was specific to him, but rather was an indication that Kathleen Kennedy just didn't know what the hell she was doing when it came to the sequel trilogy. And if you have any question there, just look to her recent quote in which she said, "Stories have been told within this universe over the last 40 odd years, and there's now the realization that this is a mythology that actually spans about 25,000 years. Really? You're just now realizing that there's 25,000 years of Star Wars lore to borrow upon?" Now, in the Hollywood Reporter article, John Boyega mentions that after doing that GQ interview, he was reached out to by an exec from Disney and they actually had a conversation about his comments. He says, "It was a very honest, a very transparent conversation. There was a lot of explaining on their end in terms of the way they saw things. They gave me a chance to also explain what my experience was like." He goes on later to say, "I hope that me being so open with my career at this stage would help the next man, the guy that wants to be the assistant DOP, the guy that wants to be a producer. I hope the conversation is not such a taboo or elephant in the room now because someone just came and said it." Now, this lends itself directly to what I thought when I first saw the comments he made in the GQ article. This is not somebody who's trying to fan the flames or start some kind of a race situation, but rather trying to bring some visibility to something that has been quietly whispered about for a number of years. A lot of times you hear these things or you see these things and they don't really necessarily get mentioned in the mainstream. But now we live in a society where everything is being brought out into the open, and I felt like John Boyega was just taking advantage of that platform. Now, I also will say that I felt like there was this evolution that would be necessary in order for him to really effectively make any change. He would have to find a way to turn those words into action and to show or create avenues for those that come behind him in order to combat or to fight against some of those same negative tropes. And it seems like from what we got in this Hollywood Reporter article that he's doing just that. The Hollywood Reporter article also mentions that John's experiences with Star Wars inspired him to create his own production company, Upper Room Productions.
The Upper Room. with Jesus.
And that production company now has a deal with Netflix to produce some non-English films from West and East Africa. So this is essentially what I was mentioning, or what I meant when I said that there's an evolution to this type of outcry or this type of issue being brought to light. It's one thing to mention this or to come out and say that this is wrong or that something needs to be done about this, but there has to be this evolution in which you become, or you attempt to become, part of the solution as opposed to just someone else pointing out the problem. This happens all the time, and to me, it's good that we're seeing John kind of take these steps to try to effectively make change rather than constantly pointing out the fact that change needs to be made. So kudos to John for that. But let's be real. The one thing that I take from this above anything else is, if Disney is reaching out to John, that means that they're interested in, at some point, seeing John reprise his role as Finn in the Star Wars universe. And damn it, I am definitely here for that. Because let's be real, we all expected to see John and the Finn character have a much more prominent role. He was advertised that way with The Force Awakens, and when we got The Force Awakens, the one thing that we wanted to know was what was going to happen with Finn. Is Finn destined to become a Jedi? Is he Force sensitive? What's gonna happen to my boy Finn? Then we get The Rise of Skywalker. We get more hints that he's Force sensitive, only to watch him scream Rey for like 90 minutes. Like, that's really all he did in that movie. Scream Rey and find Jannah, pretty much. Like, let's just be real about it. And so I would love to see Finn basically brought back so that his character could be done justice. Like, that's what we all really want to see, is a badass lightsaber wielding Force sensitive Finn tied into the future of Star Wars. That would be fantastic. And let's just be honest about it. When you look at what we're getting from Favreau and Filoni with The Mandalorian, you got Boba Fett back. You have Ahsoka getting ready to make an appearance at some point. Whispers about Ezra Bridger. What better way to kind of tie that loose end, or to bring the whole story full circle, than to find a way to effectively intertwine what's going on in that universe to what we got with the sequel trilogy. And I know, the sequel trilogy just wasn't all that. But if we could find a way to give characters like Finn a proper or a true interpretation, if we were able to find a way to give characters like Finn their justice, then man, I'm all for that. Like, why wouldn't we be? And I think this news, this article, is the indication that there may be just a chance that we might very well get to see Finn sometime in the future. Now, let's be clear. I don't think that's going to be anytime soon, because from all indications, it looks like John Boyega is more interested in diversifying his portfolio, in trying and tackling new characters and new roles, and really broadening his horizons. But if the money's right and if the conditions are better, I definitely think we could see Finn show up sometime in the future in a Star Wars film or on Disney Plus. Despite the fact that, yes, I know that he's mentioned in the past that he will not go for the Disney Plus treatment, but that was before 2020, or at the beginning of 2020, before we knew we had all this coming. I mean, can't have big movies if nobody's going to the movie theater. It's going to have to be on digital. So I think that's going to cause John Boyega to have to rethink his strategy a little bit. And we all know that if the money's right, that can be a very, very, very interesting process. So for me, I think it's cool that Disney reached out to get a little more insight into John's perspective. I think the news that they've had a conversation with him and that he was able to articulate directly to Disney what some of his concerns were, and that also Disney was able to give their perspective on what was done and how things were done. Because again, I do want to stress the fact that while I totally agree with what Boyega was saying, I don't think that the treatment of his character, or even Kelly Marie Tran's character for that matter, is an implication of something racial, but rather just an implication that, again, Kathleen Kennedy didn't really have a clue what to do with this sequel trilogy. I think it was rushed. I think there were a lot of great ideas that got left. I think there were a lot of opportunities that were missed. And I think ultimately, or at least I'm crossing my fingers and hoping so, Disney's learned their lesson, and that moving forward, they will take greater care with a series that has captured the hearts and minds of millions of us out here. And yeah, I get it before y'all say it. I don't know how the hell they didn't know this in the first place, but it definitely looks like they're on the right track, and that moving forward, there is still possibility for us to get some more Finn, maybe some more Kylo, and I know, maybe a little more Rey. So by the looks of this news, it's very well possible that somewhere in the future, Finn might make his triumphant return. And I am definitely here for that. But that's my take on Disney reaching out to John Boyega to discuss his treatment during the Star Wars sequel trilogy filming. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. Josh, what's up with that nerd card though?
Right on, Al. But first, let's shout out Pob's Sickle. Yes, indeed, it was Master Plo Koon that first recruited Ahsoka to the Jedi Order. And today's nerd card question is, what movie was John Boyega most known for before he got the role for Star Wars? If you like this video, make sure you drop a like on it. And if you're not subscribed to this channel, what are you thinking? You've got to subscribe so you don't miss any videos. If you're enjoying the content over here, then you will absolutely love the live streams we do straight from Nerdvengers Tower Monday through Friday, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.